Hi there, I'm Penny Hunt, and this is Pennie Heart to Heart. I'm going to talk to you today about my latest writing that I posted last week, or I guess it was earlier this week, and it was called I Can See for Miles and Miles and Miles. And I want to tell you the story behind it, and I want to tell you what I learned, a hard lesson to learn about friendship and about keeping in touch with people and communicating. So I wrote this story because I have this friend from back when I was in junior high. She was my best friend. We were inseparable in junior high and the first year of high school. We were very, very close. We did everything together. We used to hang out and swim every day at the local pool, and then she lived next door to me. So in the evenings, we would walk around our neighborhood and look at the stars and talk about boys and all the things that young teenage girls do. In fact, she stood up with me at my wedding in 1976. And so I have all of these memories of this friend that I had from my past, years and years ago. And then I wrote about friendship a few weeks ago and talked about how you can have such a deep friendship and then things happen. You move away. Geography is a big thing. Location is a big thing in keeping friendships. And life changes and you do different things and your interests change. And it's hard to keep that deep, deep friendship together over the years. So she was my friend way back when, and I had moved to a different state, and our lives were very different, and we had not communicated for a long time. I remember she showed up at my dad's funeral, and I think she was at my son's funeral, and little snippets of time when we would connect again. And over the last year or so, when I would make a Facebook post, she would do a thumbs up or a smiley face and once in a while comment. And she put a comment that said, call me, and a phone number. And so I tried to call a phone number, and evidently she had typed in the wrong number because it said it was disconnected. It wasn't the right number. And so I kind of let it go for a while. And then, a couple more thumbs up and smiley faces on my posts. And then she put another number and once again asked me to call her. So I did. Connected with her voicemail, and I left her a voicemail and gave her my number and said, call me. She never did. So another month, I guess, since I had communicated with her passed, and I noticed another name on a comment to one of my posts, a familiar name, and it was her sister. And her sister said, Pennie, I don't know if you've heard, but... And she went on to tell me that my friend had passed away that weekend. I was stunned. One of these friendships that you remember from your past where you were so close to somebody, and then all these years where you really hadn't connected much, but you never thought about them being gone. You thought they'll always be there. You always have those friendship memories of when you were kids together. So I was stunned, I was shocked, and mostly I was sad. Because in the last year, we had done this tag teaming of her making comments and trying to call each other and never connecting. And I thought how sad I was that had happened. I thought how sad it is because I believe it happens to so many people in life. This is not uncommon, that we let friendships slide. And sometimes I think it's the ebb and flow of life and the ebb and flow of friendships, and I think it's absolutely normal. So we probably shouldn't feel guilty about that, except that these recent little interactions of her requesting me to call her and doing this phone tag thing back and forth and never connecting has played on my heart a little bit, more than a little bit. So that's why I wrote about it. And I shared a funny story. When we were kids and used to swim at the pool, and there was a playground by the pool, and actually it was a campground we used to go to where her mom worked, and we would swim all day. and then we'd wait for her mom to get off work and play around on the playground. And there was this old rickety slide, and I remember climbing up on the slide one day, which in my memory was huge and high, probably not as big as I remember it, and standing on top of the slide, and I just started singing that song by The Who, I Can See for Miles and Miles and Miles and Miles and Miles. Oh yeah. Now I'm not singing it for you because I am a horrible singer. And she started cracking up, mostly probably because of my horrible singing, but also because the song was true. We were in South Dakota as kids, and the prairies of South Dakota you can see forever. So we could see for miles and miles and miles. And I always felt, looking back on that memory, that what we could also see was our futures. And the miles and miles and miles we had ahead of us in our lives and our futures were just out there for us to enjoy and live. So after I was notified that she passed away, this memory just flooded my mind. And how she laughed, and I will tell you, she had a laugh that was very distinct, just an amazing, wonderful, full body, not even a belly laugh. She laughed with her whole heart and soul and her whole body. And I will never forget that laugh. So that memory is such a sweet memory for me to think of her. And so I decided to write kind of another piece, since I had just written a few weeks ago about friendship, which is kind of ironic, another piece that connects the two together about how friendships can ebb and flow. And sometimes we have a friend for a time in our life, and that's where it's supposed to stay, and that's okay. And sometimes if we're lucky, we have these friends that hang with us our whole entire life, know everything about us. And then sometimes maybe friendships kind of weave in and out of your life, that you hear from them once in a while and kind of touch base once in a while, and that's okay too. I think all versions of friendship are fine. But the reason I wrote it was to encourage you to think about if there is a friendship in your life that maybe you should touch base with. Maybe it's time to make that phone call. And especially if somebody reaches out to you from your past, just at least talk to them. Because I will tell you, what's weighing on my heart is the regret that we never connected. For the last, it's probably been a year of trying to read these little snippets of things that she's commented on my posts and not be able to connect. And really, because our lives are far apart geographically and far apart, different, our lives are just different, we probably would have not connected to be best friends again and hanging out because we don't live close to each other. But just that connection, to make that connection with another person from your past, rekindle a few memories and have a conversation or write a letter to them. That is why I wrote this, to encourage you to do that if it's weighing on your heart. If there's somebody in your heart from your past that you haven't talked to for quite some time, maybe it's time to make that connection. So I wrote that. I also, if you listen to the audio, if you don't know the Who song, you can hear a little snippet of it is included in there. I know that was a long time ago, that Who song, the song by the Who, and I am not going to sing it. You do not ever want to hear me sing. And so one talent that I am absolutely certain I don't have is singing. So I encourage you to read the writing. I Can See for Miles and Miles. As always, the link is with this video. And I would love to hear if you take this little nudge from me and connect with an old friend. I'd love to hear about it and how that worked out for you. So I just wanted to talk to you about that writing. I thank you for joining me for this little snippet of time. I'm Pennie Hunt, and this has been Pennie Heart to Heart. Thanks for watching.